In 1967, a real hero among trucks was born, the mighty KRAZ-255. This iron giant, rolled off the assembly line of the famous Kremenchug Automobile Plant, was created by special order of the Ministry of Defense to conquer any roads and off-road terrain. With his impressive size and remarkable strength, he literally amazed the imagination of everyone who saw him. It is not surprising that among the drivers this steel worker received the colorful nickname Laptezhnik. Indeed, its massive wheels with wide tires looked like peasant bast shoes, just as reliable and unpretentious. This powerful truck has become a true legend on the roads of the USSR. He was respected for his ability to transport any cargo in the most difficult conditions, and his appearance on the highway always aroused the admiration of passers-by and the respect of other drivers. It was not for nothing that he was called a hero. This car was really worthy of such an epithet, combining strength, reliability, and a truly Russian character, able to cope with any task despite the difficulties. It is not surprising that such a colorful car got several nicknames. Each driver found something special in it, which deserved a separate name. But the Laptezhnik remained the most popular, because it reflected the whole essence of this car, simple as bast shoes, but reliable as the Russian land itself. In the period from 1978 to 1987, the Soviet automobile industry produced a real stream of the legendary KRAZ-255, about 7,500–8,000 of these powerful machines annually. And although the new truck looked similar to its predecessor, the KRAZ-214, it had one very characteristic feature: massive, wide tires that looked exactly like peasant bast shoes. It was these bast shoes on wheels that gave the car its most famous nickname, Laptezhnik. But this was not the only name that this steel hero was dubbed. During his service, he collected a whole collection of nicknames: Laptezhnik, Lapotnik, and simply Lapot. The second nickname, Lapotnik, appeared thanks to a smart tire pumping system. The driver could change the pressure in the wheels without even leaving the cabin. But the nickname Ogre is already a separate story, rooted in the Soviet era and accompanied by a funny anecdote about the adventures of this harsh truck. Apparently, even in those days, drivers found a way to add a little humor to their everyday lives by creating such colorful nicknames for their iron horses. In total, these nicknames reflect not only the design features of the car, but also the nature of the Soviet automotive industry at that time, when even the most serious technical solutions could get their own popular, sometimes humorous name. They say there was such a case: the Czech got the Tatra, and the Russian got the mighty KRAZ-255. And what do you think? A year later, Tatra died for a long time, and so did its owner. But our KRAZ-255 turned out to be a very long-lived one. This steel colossus often outlived its owners. Some cabins had to be changed only after 2–3 drivers had managed to sit at the wheel. But not everything was so rosy. Controlling this beast was a real challenge. No wonder the drivers were joking. You have to pay extra for such work as for a harmful profession. And KRAZ got the nickname Ogre for a reason. Imagine the hood of this colossus was mounted not on the usual stop, but on the frame of the windshield. And if the driver got under it to fix something, a strong wind could easily knock over the heavy lid right on the back of the hapless mechanic. The first prototypes of this iron monster appeared in 1963, equipped with an experimental YAMS 238 engine with a capacity of 215 horsepower. And although the car was harsh and demanding of its owners, it proved that it could serve faithfully even longer than many of its owners. That's how he was the legendary Soviet Ogre, who became a real symbol of reliability and harsh roads. Under the hood of this steel giant lurked a real monster, a cast iron shaped YAMS 238 diesel engine with a volume of 15 liters and a capacity of 240 horsepower. Such a voracious beast consumed fuel like a real tank, 40 liters per 100 kilometers. But how could it be otherwise for a machine designed to conquer any obstacles? The B series received special attention from engineers. They equipped the truck with a 5-speed YAMS 236 gearbox with synchronized gears except the first on. And to make it a little easier to cope with this colossus, we added power steering and a centralized tire pumping system right from the cockpit. The appearance of the KRAZ-255 was harsh and functional angular shapes, a protective radiator grille, and massive diskless wheels from MAZ with wide-profile tires. There are unified bridges under the bottom, and the wheels are so impressive that even the deepest swamp did not pose a serious obstacle to this car. It is not surprising that this truck became a legend. It combined incredible power, reliability, and characteristic Soviet practicality. A real hard worker able to cope with any task, no matter how difficult it may seem. Imagine a real giant of Soviet roads, KRAZ-255. This steel bugatir, produced from 1967 to 1994, was a real monster among trucks. His three-seater cabin, assembled using a special technology, a metal frame lined with boards and covered with metal, earned the popular nickname Wooden, but this in no way detracted from its reliability. The appearance of the KRAZ-255 was harsh and functional. Wide-profile tires on diskless rims with central pumping, a spare wheel between the cabin and the body. And the headlights sat proudly on the wings, although, by the end of production, they were relocated to the bumper along with turn signals and front lights. But the main thing is his character. This truck was designed for real testing. A winch with a force of 12 tons and a 50-meter cable made it a real lifeguard in difficult conditions. An army of special vehicles was created on its base: excavators, pontoon bridges, tankers, tractors, dump trucks, and cranes. Inside the giant there was an equally impressive interior, a hefty steering wheel, pressure gauge, speedometer, and on the floor there was a whole scattering of levers and knobs, a 5-speed gearbox, a distributor, and brakes. However, this hero could not get on ordinary roads. His width exceeded the norm by as much as 10 centimeters. The KRAZ-255 became a true ambassador of the Soviet automobile industry. It was known not only in the Eastern Bloc countries, but also in South America. This truck has proven that it can handle any task, no matter how difficult it may seem. A true hard worker, a legend of the Soviet automotive industry. In 1979, a real hero of the roads, appeared KRAZ-255 boned. This steel giant had a distinctive muzzle. The headlights, along with turn signals, were embedded in massive metal housings on the wings, which made its appearance truly harsh and memorable. There was a serious braking system hidden under its hood, a foot brake, a hand brake, and a special compression-type retarder motor brake with a pneumatic actuator. And the main technical difference between the Bone and its predecessor, the B, was a separate dual-circuit pneumatic brake drive. The technical characteristics were impressive. The curb weight of the Bone was 1195 tons, for the B 11.6 tons. The gross weight of both models reached 19.5 tons. This giant could reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour, and was a real crook. He stormed ascents up to 30 degrees, and forced fords up to a meter deep. But the main thing is its incredible traction. The car could tow up to 10 tons over rough terrain, and as much as 30 tons on the highway. And that's not all. There were several versions of this monster. The tractor truck, the special version for working with the MUM's semi-trailer. A logging truck. This hard worker has found many applications in the national economy, from towing broken machinery to working as a crane and dump truck. A true station wagon among the giants of the roads, able to cope with any task. The legendary KRAZ-255, this harsh worker of Soviet roads, is still found both in our country and abroad. Although the days of his absolute dominance are in the past, his story lives on. An interesting detail: when the Germans purchased these cars, they made their own adjustments. They added additional glass in the back of the cabin for a better view. And in Russia, they tried to carry out a serious modernization. They were even going to replace the wooden cabin with a metal one from the Urals. However, it did not go beyond a few prototypes. Controlling this 12-ton monster is a special art. The braking system requires special care. The pedal has 2 positions, and there's no mistaking it. Every time the driver touched the brake pedal, it was like playing chess. One wrong move, and the consequences could be serious. The year 1994 marked the end of an era. Production of the KRAZ-255 was halted. But the company itself, having survived all the storms of perestroika and the difficulties of the 90s, not only survived, but also continues to create worthy successors to its legendary brainchild. Today, new trucks are being born here, which, while preserving the best traditions of the past, meet all modern requirements and standards. That's how one chapter of history ended, but another began. The story of new cars that continue the glorious traditions of the Soviet giant of roads, combining reliability, power, and the character of a true worker. This steel giant, KRAZ-255, was a real monster among trucks. Imagine, he was effortlessly coping with mighty larches half a meter thick as if he were breaking matches. The three leading bridges, fully unified in detail, made it a true conqueror of any obstacles. For 27 years of production from 1967 to 1994, this hard worker has spawned an army of descendants, 19 different models of trucks and special equipment. In the Soviet Union, it was used as a universal platform for a wide variety of tasks, from a simple cargo truck to special equipment for various purposes. The reliability of the KRAZ-255 was legendary, but it was not without its drawbacks. His wooden cabin, the frame, was really wooden. It was famous not only for its durability, but also for its shaking. The vibrations were such that they could play a cruel joke on the driver's health. Back and joint problems were frequent companions of these cars. The winter climate was also not to this giant's taste. The design did not provide any special facilities for working in the cold. And another point that seems surprising today is the lack of a serious rollover safety framework. But you know what? Despite all these buts, the KRAZ-255 remained a great working car. He did his job honestly where other cars failed, and earned the sincere respect of everyone who dealt with this legendary technique. A real hard worker, what to look for. Driving this giant required a real professional. And it's not just the lack of experience and skills in extreme driving. Even with power steering, the driver's hands were under tremendous strain. However, working on any truck, whether it's an American trailer or an ordinary dump truck, is definitely not for wimps. Young guys who had just served in the army were usually put on such monsters. Why? Yes, because in youth fatigue is not felt so much. There is plenty of energy. But when it came to off-road driving, this steel giant showed who was in charge. He literally waded through any obstacles, leaving behind both domestic and foreign competitors. His nickname Laptezhnik spoke for itself. Like a Lapt, he was simple and reliable in any conditions. And you know what? Even today, this veteran continues to serve honestly in the army, especially in engineering units. There he performs an important mission, transporting pontoons and helping to install bridges, proving that the real character does not change over the years. He is such a hard worker who has gone through fire, water and copper pipes and continues to fulfill his duty despite the advent of more modern machines. A real example of how to serve the fatherland.